wax pen versus oil pen, the features of the actual vaporizers and the act and what the difference is. Hi everyone, and thanks for tuning in. And today we have a special video for you that is going to square off oil pen versus wax pen. Now, before we dive in and you invest your time in watching this video, I'm not going to discuss what the differences are between oil and wax. So if you clicked on this video for this, please like this video and subscribe to this channel just for me saving you time. We're going to talk about wax pen versus oil pen, the features of the actual vaporizers and the act and what the difference is. So we're not going to get into that debate as to what's better, wax or oil. We're going to assume they're the same, and we're strictly going to talk about the pens. So get ready guys, we're about to jump right in. So today here at Vape HoneyStick, we're going to discuss the differences between oil pen versus wax pen and which one you should choose. What we're going to do is we're going to highlight the features of each, the pros and cons, so that when you're shopping for your first vape pen, that you can make the right decision on which is best for your lifestyle as well as your preferences. So to make this an even closer competition, what I decided to do is to use a wax pen, which is our HoneyStick Nano Dabber, and use a standard 510 thread battery and a pre-filled oil vape cartridge to demonstrate the differences, because size-wise and aesthetically they are pretty much the same to make this even closer. Even though you have all different type of wax pens and oil pens, now you can make them pretty similar. So to really level the playing field and talk about which one's better, that's what we're using for the competition. Now, all of these products that we do talk about and a whole plethora of oil as well as wax pens are available on www.vapeHoneyStick.com, so you can check that out and use our special promo code HONEY420 for 20% off. Now, first category where we square these off is price. That's usually the most important decision that anybody is going to face when they're encountered with a purchasing decision, whether you're buying a new car or whether you're buying a vape pen, is what's the price. Now, it's not actually a straightforward answer, so I'm going to break it down for you. So you have the cost of the vape pen, and if that's the case, most people for oil buy pre-filled cartridges, as we discussed. They're already filled from the dispensary. So all you really need is a 510 thread vape battery, which is rather inexpensive. You can see them all over the websites, pretty decent ones. I think we sell them as low as like $12, and I'm sure you could go around the gas stations and get them even lower than that. That sole purpose is to fire up that pre-filled cartridge, and that is going to be cheaper than any wax pen. However, you always have to buy a new cartridge, which is actually a component of the vaporizer when you want to vape. So every time that your cartridge runs out, you have to buy a new pre-filled cartridge, which includes the cartridge which would be empty. So technically, every time that you want to vape a vape cartridge, you have to buy a vape component. So the entry cost to an oil pen is much cheaper than just buying the entry level to a wax pen. But you're going to have to pay more on the recurring basis because you're buying vape equipment every time you run out of a cartridge. So less upfront, more on the subscription basis. So now wax pen, how does it compare? Now for wax pens, you can, the pens in general are more expensive. You know, most wax pens average on the low end even $40. So it's almost 3 times as much. Now we do have some budget wax pens that function really, really well, still like the good ones, like our Nano Dabber, which I think is between $20 and $30 depending on which battery you have it paired with out of our arsenal, which will still give you a good performance and give you a wax pen, but that's still not as low as a $10 cost. However, once you have that wax pen, the only thing that you need is occasionally, once every maybe month or two, depending on how much you vape, is to possibly replace the coils, the wax coils, for that pen. So the cost of the upkeep, once you've purchased that pen, is actually much smaller because you don't have to buy those refill cartridges. Now, the other thing is that I said we weren't going to get into comparing what was better between the oil and wax, but since you are purchasing the cartridge each time, the wax, because you're buying that in just bulk, it's just common sense that it's a cheaper alternative. So a little bit more upfront, but a little bit less on the upkeep when it comes to the dab pen. So I would say in terms of inexpensiveness, overall, you're probably getting a plus with the dab pen, even though you have a little bit more upfront cost. Now, next decision that most people do whenever they're buying something that they want to square these things up at is convenience. Is how convenient is it to use and how much is it going to affect my life? Now, convenience-wise, the oil pen is super convenient because you just have this battery. All you do is you purchase a cartridge and you can throw it in your pocket, throw it in your purse, whatever it may be, and you vape it until that vape cartridge is down to zero. And then you pitch it and you pick up a new one. And you keep the battery charged. It's very simple. You don't get your hands dirty. When you run out, you buy a new one, you rock and roll. It is as convenient as concentrates vaping can get, is the oil pen side. When it comes to the wax pen, it definitely takes a loss in the convenience category because you have to fill it each time. So most wax pens will have a bowl on them that you have to fill up with wax. Generally, you fill it up. Most of these wax tanks will fit between 1/4 gram, and at the very, very max, a large wax pen might fit up to 1 gram of wax. And then you're going to get between 5 and 20 draws off of it before you have to refill it. Wax, because you do buy it in bulk, you need probably some dab tools, something to get the wax and put it into there. So it is definitely going to be a little bit messier and less convenient. It's not a closed loop system where you just vape it till it's done and throw it away. It is something that you have to manage and refill, and then you're going to take your puffs off of it. So even though you can get it loaded up for a day and have 20 puffs, it's not as convenient to also carry because if you store it upside down, the wax might get off of the coils depending on how solid it is or what type of structure it has, if it's like a powdery or a cake batter kind of substance. So in terms of convenience, the oil pen is definitely going to take the W in terms of convenience. Now, the next factor that I would grade any type of vape pen on is actual outside aesthetics, is cool looks. And when it comes to those, you can basically give these both a tie. The vape industry, even outside of HoneyStick, has done a really good job of crafting vaporizers to basically fit every style in terms of color, aesthetic, size, or shape. And that's why I wanted these two pens to look familiar on the outside, similar, so that you can see that at this point the gap has been bridged to whereas traditionally dabbing might have been somebody walking around with a Pelican case and breaking out a whole laboratory-like setup, that it has really, really closed the gap on that terms. Now, the next level is once you've put all those aside and said, okay, what fits my lifestyle, what fits my budget, and what fits my convenience, and what matches my eye, is let's talk intensity, the actual vaping. Now, for vaping, the technology gap has also been closed. And we really have to give these two different types of pens a tie because at this point, wax and dab pens, as well as just straight 510 pens, they run along the same power bands and similar resistance levels, so you're going to get comparable rips off of each one. And the actual process of vaping, the connoisseurness, the taste, the amount of vapor is going to be rather comparable within those two. You might get a slightly bigger cloud or a plume off of the oil pen. However, that can also be superficial because some oil tanks, whether you're purchasing CBDs, Delta 8s, or from your dispensary, might not be straight pure distillate or something that is comparable to the wax. So whatever those agents can be that are like propylene glycol or something like that in any cartridges, they might give you a larger plume, but that's still not adding intensity or anything to your vape experience. It's just giving you a visual cloud. It's just kind of vape window dressing. And it's not necessarily going to alter the intensity or the taste. Now, in terms of maintenance, which is living with these devices, we have to give a slight advantage to the actual oil pen. Because the oil pen, like we said, the actual cartridge, you can just throw that away, get a new one, so that part of the system's maintained. With the dab pen, you do have to spend a little bit more time keeping the components of the dab pens clean, like the reservoir mouthpiece area, and also switching out the coils. In terms of the battery, they're 1-for-1 because a lot of these 510 thread batteries that you use for pre-filled cartridges, like this twist battery, is also interchangeable for my dab pen. So, but not having to maintain this portion of the tank definitely makes it more livable in terms of maintenance. So if you're opposed to breaking down your wax tank once every couple weeks and putting it in an alcohol bath, an isopropyl alcohol bath, which you can see one of my videos on how to properly clean your vape tank here on the channel for reference, then maybe you just want to stick with the oil pens because that's a part of your life, and the maintenance of living with it is it's just going to be easier for you to upkeep, you know. In general, also living with it, we do have to say that both pens do create residue onto the battery. Wax pens generally have a little bit more splatter and residue, so you are going to spend a little bit more time cleaning and maintaining the battery portion of the wax and dab pen also. So I hope today's video was able to educate you on the key features and differences between the wax and dab pen and the oil pen. I hope that the facts that we were able to present to you on how it will be to purchase one and to live with one are going to help you in your decision-making process of purchasing your first concentrates vape pen and what that will be. As you can see from the results of our video, there is no clear winner. What it comes out to is basically strictly based on subjective preference, lifestyle, as well as budget and how you want to do it. But as the vape industry and the technologies have grown, the difference in terms of the gap between all of these features is closing as both the oil pens improve and the dab pens improve to become more convenient and livable, and as the oil pens do become more budget friendly. So if you like this video, please make sure to give us a thumbs up, give us a like. Make sure to use my special promo code HONEY420 if you hit Vape HoneyStick to check out any cool oil and or wax and dab pens. Make sure to subscribe to this channel if you liked our content. We like to put content out here to keep you informed about the latest and greatest in what's new at HoneyStick and vaping info in general. Make sure to check out our social media on Instagram at officialvapeHoneyStick. And make sure, whether it's a dab pen or an oil pen that you end up purchasing, that when you're using them, you're vaping responsibly. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, be safe.